Hello, my name is Callie Carey, and our research is food insecurity in rural areas. A little bit about myself. I'm a senior at Tarleton, and I chose social work because a social worker helped me through a difficult time in my life.
Hello, my name is Cameron Vickers, and I as well chose social work due to a difficult time in my life. I had to see a social worker, and she really just turned that dark side of my life into something bright, and I would just love to pay it forward.
Hi, my name is Danielle Nichols, and my story is a little different. I was actually a nursing major prior to social work. And when I changed my major, I fell in love with the fact that I could be a better advocate for clients as a social worker than I ever could as a nurse.
Hello, my name is Allison Sexton. I am also a senior at Tarleton State. And one of the reasons why I chose social work, I was also previously in nursing school. And on one of my clinical rotations, I got to witness a social worker make a difference in a patient's life. And I decided to switch so I could advocate for patients in that area of healthcare.
Our community partner is Helping Other People Effectively, also known as HOPE. They are located in Stephenville, Texas. And the services provided are food services through a food pantry, clothing services through a thrift store, financial services, medical services, and dental. And then also they have Christmas assistance. After defining our problem, we had to create a research question, and we created, to what extent do people in rural communities experience food insecurity? And then out of that, we created objectives that identified the key factors resulting in food insecurity in regards to supplemental aid, transportation, and age.
After coming up with the four objectives, we came up with a literature review. The student researchers identified 16 journal articles relating to their research. The three themes that they came up with for these articles were food insecurity, poverty in rural areas. 10 of the journal articles were quantitative, 4 of the journal articles were qualitative, and 2 of the journal articles were mixed methods.
We also identified two theories that kind of helped discuss this phenomenon that we were seeing in the agency. The first one is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which of course we're all very familiar with Maslow's and how in order to reach self-fulfillment, basic needs need to be met. Well, with regards to food insecurity, people are less likely to care about, going to get a job, friendships, intimate relationships until that food, water, and shelter is met. So we're seeing a lot of people coming in just needing food, which kind of leads into Karl Marx's conflict theory, which is the second theory that we identified. And Karl Marx's conflict theory kind of discusses the correlation of competitiveness in social classes in regards to rural areas that is seen as just people fighting for resources. We all are very much aware that there is a lack of resources in these rural communities. So the population is now fighting for a scrap of those services. We can also see this in respects to food deserts. There's food deserts in towns. It might take an hour for somebody to go to the grocery store. So this all kind of leads to this tension that happens in societies.
When designing our survey, we wanted to make sure that it was completely voluntary. This meaning that the participants would arrive to HOPE and we would ask them to fill out our survey. We would hand them the consent form. They would read it over. We would remind them that it was completely anonymous, no names, no birth dates, no social security, etc. And on our survey, we had 12 questions. 5 were demographic questions relating to age, race, gender, etc. And then the remaining 7 were quantitative questions, this asking about SNAP, TANF, SSI, Medicaid. And then for our design, in order to recruit participants, we used a purposive sampling order.
Next, we have the data collection and data input. So first we completed IRB, which stands for Institutional Review Board, and we received exemption status to move forward with our research. We then went to a mobile food pantry with our community partner, completing surveys for our participants by pen and paper due to COVID-19. We then created variable names and variable response options from our surveys. We took these variable names and cut them down into 8 letters or less to create a code sheet in Excel and input data into Excel. We also inputted our own data from our own 25 or more participants. We then copied all the data into SPSS, which stands for Statistical Package for the Social Sciences, to be able to run our tests on our hypothesis and get our results.
Here is the beginning of our demographic data. Out of 107 participants, the majority that were represented were female, ages 56 and up.
In regards to race, a majority was Hispanic or Latinx at 51.4%, which is kind of what we expected because Erath County has a high Hispanic and Latinx population. And second was white American at 47.6%.
More demographic data is which town you resided in and if you lived in Erath County or not. On the left, at 65.42% of the participants said that they lived in Stephenville, and then about a fourth at 28.04% said that they lived in Dublin. On the right is pertaining to the question of, do you live in Erath County or not? And out of 107 participants, 105 said that they did. And the remaining 2 that said no, this might be because they're in the process of moving to Stephenville and just have not settled down there yet.
Next, we have the hypotheses. The first hypothesis is participants ages 55 and older will indicate experiencing more food insecurity. And with this hypothesis, we had to reject the hypothesis and accept the null due to not having 100% participants answer that they have experienced food insecurity. And we tested this through cross tabulations. The second hypothesis is participants ages 18 to 55 will indicate experiencing food insecurity in their lifetime. We as well rejected the hypothesis and accepted the null, and we tested this through cross tabulations as well. Hypothesis 3 is majority of participants will indicate a lack of transportation, resulting in food insecurity. And finally, we accepted the hypothesis and rejected the null on this one due to participants answering that there is a lack of transportation. And some of our strengths for our research, the first strength is Spanish translated survey. We were able to conduct a Spanish survey to assist our Spanish speaking population so that our research was not skewed. The next strength is location of data collection. We were able to attend a food pantry or mobile food pantry with our community partner. We would have never been able to gather up as many participants as we were able to just by sitting at the agency. So the food pantry really aided us in conducting our surveys. The third strength is cooperation between group members. Me and my group members are pretty cooperative between each other. We tend to hold each other accountable when it comes to our research and stay on top of each other with things. Our fourth strength is a supportive community partner. Our community partner, we are so thankful for her. She has been super supportive and cooperative when it comes to our research. Even when it comes to meetings with her or having to discuss certain things with her, she has been super cooperative with us.
Although there were some strengths to our research, as Cameron mentioned, there were also some limitations. The first one was the location of our survey collection. We used a local food drive, and some of these participants might not have received assistance from HOPE in the past. And the second one is the limitations in our survey questions. Although we had solid questions in our survey, the way we worded some of the questions, we were not specific enough relating to our hypotheses. And the third one is the lack of qualitative questions. We had 12 quantitative questions, but we did not have any qualitative questions. Some of the questions we could have asked were, how do you feel about food insecurity? Or have you ever been food insecure in your lifetime? And then the fourth one is the timing of data collection. During this time that we collected data at the food drive, a lot of families had received a stimulus check, so they might have had enough money to go and buy groceries. And also COVID-19, this has affected our data and our research since we began.
So when conducting research, you have to ensure that you are being ethical, and whenever you use human participants, and then you even more so in social work, you have to, because a lot of times they're sensitive topics. So in order to do that, we would obtain informed consent at the time of data collection. We handed our participants a piece of paper that said all the information about our research and what it was going to be used for, and letting them know that no personal information was collected. And then we also, before we even got to start conducting our research, we had to send in information to the Institutional Review Board at Tarleton, and we received exemption status, which means that our research has little to no risk in participating for the participants. And then finally, we followed the NASW Code of Ethics. We followed, specifically, we used dignity and worth of a person, and also we protected the integrity of our research.
Some implications for future social work research. At the micro level, we have what age groups in rural areas are in greater need and what services are needed. At the meso level, we have how the rural area can better assess and assist to aid in the reduction of food insecurity. And at the macro level, we have future research can include implementing ideas and data collected by the student research group and used to further assess challenges within the rural community that result in food insecurity. Here's our reference page. And the last page is some headshots of me and my fellow group members. Below each headshot is our personal emails. If you have any questions or comments, you can go ahead and email us. And below the email is a Tarleton Social Work Twitter handle. If you would like to comment or post or share anything with us, feel free to share it to the Tarleton Social Work handle. Thank you for allowing us to present our research to you and listening in to our presentation.